We're less than a week away from Thanksgiving. Is your menu set and you're taking things in stride? Or are you freaking out because it's your first major dinner and you're not sure what to do with the turkey? Are you looking for ways to put a new twist on a familiar recipe? Today, we've got some advice to make your Thanksgiving feast special. Chef Walter Ellerbe of Savor Restaurant and Chef Dedra Blount of Now You're Cooking are here with some soulful ways to prepare a great and healthy Thanksgiving meal. Plus, they'll share some special recipes that spice up traditional dishes. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee, and it's a soul food Thanksgiving feast right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Welcome to Another View. If you've ever seen the movie Soul Food, then you know the center of attention was the Sunday family dinner with the table full of everything from fried chicken to apple cobbler. I think of Thanksgiving dinner in that same way as that Sunday dinner on steroids. So much food, so many calories, but is it going to be delicious? Our guests today are two well-known chefs in the area, and they are here to help us prepare the perfect feast for Thanksgiving. Please welcome on the phone Chef Walter Ellerbe of Savor Restaurant. Hi, Chef Ellerbe.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing? Welcome to Another View.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
And Chef Dedra Blount of Now You're Cooking. Hi, Dedra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have the two of you together so that we can talk about this thing. First, I want to start with you, Chef Walter. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into cooking in the first place.
Oh, well, I'm originally a native of North Carolina. Just cooking in with my grandparents for many, many years and until their to their demise. My grandmother and my family was, food is the glue that kind of holds the family together, kind of like soul food, as you were saying in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That Sunday meal, that holiday meal was the thing that kind of brought it all together. So I'm just trying to keep the tradition alive and continue doing what I do best, eat and share my love of food with others.
Eat and share your love of food with others. At the time that you were growing up, because I think you're not far from my age, I think, but maybe not, maybe younger.
16. I'm 16. Go ahead.
Okay, but 16. But did people give you grief because you were a guy and you wanted to be in the kitchen?
Well, I kind of did both. I kind of hid my love for food in the beginning. I was playing a lot of football, but every chance I got, I was actually in that kitchen, and they were trying to run me out, and then they realized they couldn't, so they said, "Hey, we might as well teach them something."
Okay. And Dedra, how did you get started?
Well, my grandmother was the one who really created and started the fire within me. She was the one that prepared all of our Sunday meals, and she was responsible for, she baked fresh bread for us every Saturday afternoon, and we would come and pick it up and have it for Sunday dinner. But all of the gifts that we received for birthday, for Christmas, they were all food gifts. So we got red velvet cake on Valentine's Day, and whatever your favorite was for your birthday, and barbecue for Christmas. And watching her is what made me want to do exactly what she did.
So when we say a soul food Thanksgiving dinner, that really can be anyone's idea of a great, delicious dinner. Isn't that right?
Yes, because soul food is something that it comes from within, and it could be whatever you grew up on. It doesn't have to be collard greens and macaroni and cheese, but if it's something that means something to you, and it was prepared with love and great care, then that's what soul food really is all about.
Okay, you agree with that, Chef Walter?
I absolutely do. That's one thing about it. One of the things that a lot of people talk about, they say, well, food just doesn't taste the same. I tried to prepare it just like my grandma. I tried to prepare it just like my mom and my aunt. But the difference between what they're doing, they were trying to recreate something that they were doing strictly out of love. Because a lot of times, Mom and Grandma, they didn't put a lot of time into the presentation, not unless it was a special holiday or maybe your birthday. All they were doing was just trying to feed you from the heart.
And that's what's so important. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call. We have two chefs here ready to take your questions. Any question you have at all about how to prepare a wonderful meal for next Thursday. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, here's my first question, because this is an ongoing debate, and especially since there are a lot of people, particularly in the African American community, who suffer from things like diabetes and heart disease and so forth. And so sometimes they have dietary restrictions, and you're trying to prepare a great meal. Collard greens are a big deal for Thanksgiving. So the question is, and I'll ask both of you, to ham hock or not? I'm going to start with you, Chef Walter.
Well, I always do two types of greens. My mother is a diabetic, and so I try to make sure that I have something for the traditionals, and I also have something for her. So I actually do both. But at the restaurant, it's not.
It is not there. So at the restaurant, you have to have a broader appeal, I guess.
I do.
But Dedra, people say if you don't have ham hocks in your greens, they just don't taste good. Do you agree with that?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because a lot of the recipes now will call for seasoned meat. Not saying what it's going to be, but I think it's the technique of it. Doesn't matter if it's ham hock or for smoked turkey. If you don't understand the process of extracting the flavor from it and cooking it down, then you're not going to get the right flavor. A lot of times I'll use Polish sausage.
Okay, so what is the technique for cooking it down and getting that flavor out? Give up the secrets.
Well, watching my grandmother over the years, add like a ham hock to a pot and then just boiling it, trying to extract the flavor. And one of my horror stories was I made a mistake and threw the ham hock away. Yeah, I think I was about 17, and I've never done that again. She came out of the room and said, "Where's my ham hock?" I'm like, "I threw it in the trash." That doesn't go in the trash. So needless to say, I haven't done that since then. But just pulling the flavor out.
So the whole idea is getting the essence from the meat, but leaving the meat in the green if you're gonna cook it. And if you make the mistake, as I did once, of buying fresh turkey necks as opposed to smoked turkey necks, it's not the same thing, is it?
No, it is not.
But I think everybody nowadays have a smoker or have some way to add a little smoke to their food, even if it's. I don't. I don't use it, but even they have liquid smoke. But one of the things that we do for our greens, we actually do we do roasted veggies, parade that down, and then add that to our greens, because that roasted and that smoking, that caramelization will impact and bring in more flavor to the greens, because we want to make sure that we can cover everybody from all walks of life with all of their dietary restrictions.
Okay. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Nita joins us from Lancaster. How are you, Nita?
I'm fine.
Good.
Great program today.
Thank you.
I also, I'm probably be taking a dish to some friends for Thanksgiving dinner, and it's always kind of what to do. But, Southern food I love. I don't know. Where is Walter from in North Carolina?
I'm from Raleigh-Durham.
Okay. Well, I'm from eastern North Carolina originally, so I think it's pretty much, close area of the state. But,
Sure.
I was thinking I might take a dessert. I think they're doing everything else. They're from Alabama or down that way. But I just don't have the time to do a pie. Do you have any suggestions, something that's easy to do, doesn't take a lot of time, but still brings the traditional Southern flavor?
Chef Ellerbe?
A pecan pie is very simple, very quick, very easy to do at this. And, at this stage of the game, it is Thanksgiving. So in your baking aisle, you'll see a lot of canned pumpkin and canned sweet potato. You can just take that and add, a little bit of some egg and whatever your favorite holiday seasonings may be, and kind of spice it up a little bit, and with some really good vanilla. I try to get people to use real vanilla. That imitation stuff is okay, but use the real deal. If you want the flavor, go for it.
And Dedra, Chef Dedra, if you don't have time for the pie, as she said, what else could you take?
Well, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll make trifle, or in the African American community we call punch bowl cake, and you can use a store-bought product. You could take a pumpkin puree, cut the cake into cubes and divide it, and layer in a punch bowl cake, and then say the pumpkin pie filling, whipped cream, and then more cake all the way up to the top.
Does it sound good to you, Nita?
Sounds good, and it sounds like it'd be easy to work into a busy schedule.
Very easy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call. Let us know what your questions are to make sure that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving meal. Okay, let me start with you, Chef Dedra. The turkey. Okay. Just give us some tips on how to make sure it's not dried out or it's not undercooked.
Okay. A couple of ways you can make sure it's not dried out is a technique called brining, which is very popular and has been for about the past 5 or 6 years. But to let you know that brining is something that we've been doing all of our lives. We just never knew what it was called. Because oftentimes in the African American community, we raised our own chickens, and my grandmother used to call it getting the wild out of it. And she would soak it in salt water.
And that's what brining is, soaking it in salt water.
It could be salt water, or you could also add spices to it. I've also seen them with apple cider added to them just to flavor them. But it pulls the blood out and then puts the salt water into the muscle, which holds the water or the moisture in. So I would say start out by doing that. You can do it overnight in the salt water. Put it into like a large bag and put it in salt water and store it in the refrigerator, then pat it dry. Some recipes I see for you to cook the turkey upside down so that the fat from the back of it runs around to the breast, because the breast is going to be the last thing to cook, and that always ends up being the driest part because it's overcooked. If you cook it upside down, then the fat from the back and the thighs run around to the breast. And I would say, when it's about 75% done, flip it over so that it can get the shape and it can brown properly.
Okay. Chef Walter, any ideas?
I actually do very similar to that. I actually do a brine. I'd actually do a salt and sugar brine. And that also really, infuses flavor and add a little sweetness to the meat.
And
I go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I actually do a slow and low technique. Anytime that you're cooking a large muscle product, I really truly believe in slow and low. And I actually take that and I actually rack and store not only root vegetables and also fruit on the bottom as well, and make sure that I have a little solution or whatever type of marinade that I may want to have on the bottom to keep that steam and moisture going, and I keep it covered and I keep it nice and tight. I don't go through a lot of basting until the last 15 minutes or maybe 30 minutes of it, taking the foil off and then browning properly. But if you do a nice slow and low turkey, making sure that, and that's kind of the way my family has always done it. It's always been juicy. The skin is nice and crispy. It peaks so much flavor. And because in my family, once we do that turkey, we're going to have it for the rest of the week. So we want to make sure that we do it right, because we know it's going to be turkey sandwiches, turkey hash, and turkey everything else coming afterwards.
Okay, now neither one of you mentioned frying the turkey. What do you think about that, Chef Dedra?
We fry. We have 2 turkeys, one roasted, one fried. My husband is the aficionado of frying turkeys in my household. And then I roast one just because my aunt feels like you can't make gravy unless you have a roasted turkey.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then frying, though, you just caution people, make sure it's outside. Make sure
definitely.
It's away from anything.
Yes, we have fried turkeys in the rain. We fried in the snow, but never in the garage or anything close like that. And what we do with our friends, because the oil is so expensive and you need so much of it, when we fry, we let everybody know and tell them, okay, you bring your turkeys and we'll fry your turkeys too. Mm-hmm. Because if not, we're just going to fry one turkey and the oil can kind of go to waste like that.
Gotcha. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Wendell joins us from Richmond. Hi, Wendell. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing great.
How are you?
Going great. Thanks for calling.
Good. Got a question about pies, specifically pie crust. I love making pies, sweet potato pie, apple pie, but I get busy and it's so hard, and I wind up using store-bought pie crust. Do either of your guests have any hints on how to make a good crust from scratch?
Okay. You want to start, Chef Dedra?
Okay, sure. First of all, don't beat yourself up about using store-bought crust, because I have to do it sometimes as well. Whenever you have time, you can make pie crust and store it in the freezer. And then, the night before, you can take it out and put it in the refrigerator so that it softens up. But I make my pie crust in a food processor because it's real quick and easy. And I keep my butter or the shortening, I put it in ice water because you want the butter to be really, really cold, which makes your crust flaky. And then I just make it in the food processor and just pulse it. And then the trick I learned a couple of weeks ago from a chef friend of mine is to add a little bit of vodka to it.
Really?
Add a little bit of vodka to the crust. And it'll really make it flaky and just change the texture just a little bit. But make it ahead of time. Just because it's the holidays or you have a party coming up doesn't mean you have to do everything the night before. If you have some free time, make some crust, break it into batches, put a label on it of when you made it, and just store it in the freezer until you're ready to take it out. I would say give, in your freezer about 90 days is good enough time. After 90 days, it's time to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. But you can make it ahead and then take it out as needed. Chef
Walter, you have any other suggestions?
Pretty much, I don't use the vodka. That's really, I'm going to have to try that myself. Now, do you use the vodka or do you drink the vodka? That's what, okay.
Use the vodka,
a little bit for the crust and a little bit for myself. But definitely, I'm definitely a butter and lard mixture as far as my fat to my crust. And I definitely don't overwork that, and you will see butter pieces in there and stuff, and crusts have always just come out really nice and flaky. And like Chef Dedra was saying, just go ahead and if you have an opportunity to do it ahead of time, feel free to do so. And we all, even as chefs, sometimes we get so busy because our whole life we're servicing other people. Sometimes when we have to service ourselves, we have to take the shortcut. So.
Okay, Wendell, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. All right, Chef Walter, this one is coming to you first. Lisa Godley, our producer, is really stressing over her mac and cheese that she has to make for the holidays. And so she wants to put in a bunch of different cheeses and so forth, and wanted some ideas on how to keep it light and so that everybody can enjoy it. I understand you had some suggestions.
Well, it really depends. If you're talking light or if you're talking healthy, or a combination of both, you can definitely start with a wheat pasta. You can start with a gluten-free pasta. Totally up to you. If you don't want to do in the classical culinary terms a Mornay sauce, which is nothing but a cheese sauce, you can actually go with yogurt if you want to, or a sour cream mixture. If you want to do a fat-free type, you can just go with a fat-free yogurt or a fat-free sour cream. One of the things that you really can't substitute is your cheese. I mean, if you're going to use cheese, use cheese. And hard cheese or a combination of different cheeses, make sure it's the real thing. The imitation stuff, first of all, it doesn't melt properly. I'm not going to say it's bad for you, but it's really not the best. I think your body can, if you don't have, with lactose and tolerant, mm-hmm. if you can handle the dairy, then I would definitely tell you to use really good cheese. But I also use a combination of a couple of different cheeses. I definitely like to use a Gouda because it gives it some nice creaminess. I definitely do a brie. I always do an extra sharp cheddar. And really depending upon which way I want to go, I'll either go with either a blue cheese. I may even decide to go with a smoked Gouda. I may even decide to go with a Gruyere, give it some zip and some additional kickback. It's just really up to you and what you feel and what you have what you have in mindset. But that lighter side was definitely going to be your base.
And she's saying you use yogurt in place of cream. Is that right?
I use yogurt in place of cream.
Okay.
But when I do traditional mac and cheese, and also the way we do it at the restaurant, we do old school custard base. We use those eggs and cream and four or five different cheeses in there, and just make a lot of love.
Chef Dedra, you want to add anything to a mac and cheese to make it healthier?
I don't know if you want to have healthy mac and cheese. Some things in life you just want to learn to live without.
I was going to ask, are there some foods, particularly that we cook around Thanksgiving, that you just can't scrimp on in terms of the ingredients if you want it to turn out?
I mean, Thanksgiving isn't every day.
That's right.
And I think we need to realize that, sometimes in life you have to allow yourself pleasures. And when you have those, it needs to be full on. Everything is supposed to be everything you remember, because a lot of what we do in food is what we remember.
Absolutely.
And I don't have any fond memories of low-fat mac and cheese.
I tell you, we all got everybody's face kind of in the studio was kind of frowned up when you were talking about that.
You're absolutely right.
Oh gosh, go ahead, Chef Walter.
It's so funny. I mean, you're right. I mean, as a chef, and when other people ask for advice, you try to give them the best information that you possibly can. But like Chef Dedra says, some things you just don't want to take a shortcut in, because, those are the things that you remember. Those are the things that, food is one of those things that just create memories. You may not remember that wedding that you went to, but you can remember the food at the wedding. That's true. You may not remember how the dress was at the christening, but did you remember those sandwiches that was good?
Very good point.
So you really don't want to take a lot of shortcuts. But if you have to, there's some out there for you. Okay.
440-2665, 1-800-940-2240. Tell us what you're cooking for Thanksgiving this year. What is a tradition in your household? Lydell, I believe, joins us from Chesapeake. Hi.
Yeah. Hello. How are you today?
Okay.
All right. I would like to really thank you for taking this. This is a subject that hits home for me. But my question is, what about smoking a turkey? As in putting it in with the wood chips, and just letting it smoke.
You get that one, Walter.
Chef Walter.
There's nothing wrong with smoking a turkey. My thing is, you don't want to over smoke a turkey. A lot of times, people don't know when to cut it off. And then when you get to start eating the turkey, you realize it has so much smoke in there that it's really almost unconsumable. So you want to make sure that you really have a good balance. And a lot of times I always blend my wood. I don't normally use one particular wood. I normally start with either mesquite or hickory, and then I'll come back with something sweet like a pecan or an apple. And that'll give your smoke a little bit of balance. And then from there, you really, for a turkey, especially if your turkey is somewhere between 12 to 15 pounds, you want to make sure that you smoke it for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Then you want to cut your smoke and then just continue to allow it to slow cook from that point, because you're going to have enough smoke that's going to permeate through that turkey. If it's a 15 to 20 pounder, I would increase that by another 20 to 30 minutes based upon, per 5 pounds.
Lydell, have you ever smoked a turkey before?
I've tried it and it didn't turn out too good.
Will this advice help you out?
Yes, it would.
Okay, great. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
All righty, thank you. You too.
All righty, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What questions do you have for our chefs today on how to prepare the perfect Thanksgiving dinner? 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Chef Walter Ellerbe of Savor Restaurant, which is located in Virginia Beach, and Chef Dedra Blount of Now You're Cooking, which is in Chesapeake. And I have had cooking and tasted fabulous meals from both of these chefs, and I am here to tell you I love to eat too, and it is a pleasure eating you all's food. So I just want to say that. If you've never cooked for a large group, like you live in, it's just you and your husband, or you in a small family unit, and all of a sudden you've got 30 people coming for dinner. Do you just take your recipe and triple it by 30, or how do you measure? How do you figure out how much you need to cook? I'm going to start with you, Chef Dedra.
Well, what I think that anyone who has to do that for the first time, I would say you make what you normally do and have everybody bring something to add to the meal.
So don't try to cook everything for everybody,
because it will be the worst day of your life. Because you haven't tested your recipes, you haven't tried them out, and you've been up all night long, you're tired, now you got to entertain and somebody's got to clean. It will be one of the worst days ever. So I would say do your normal meal, have people bring additional, and if you host that event every year, then every year add a new dish to it until you build up your confidence, because you can tell when a person is not confident about what they've prepared.
Okay, Chef Walter.
I was going to say, where are we going out to eat?
Make reservations.
Make reservations. No, I think Chef Dedra hit it dead on the head. I mean, really, it takes time to cook for mass number of people, and you really have to have not only the space, the time, but organization. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that, if you're not familiar with that, if you don't have help, it's just best that you do what you do best. Everybody has their limitations, so we must know them and do what we do best. And their family, their friends, you're given to share a meal. Bring something. It's nothing more special than breaking bread with the ones you love.
Mm. But even when you're cooking your portion of the meal, should you think in terms of having to cook enough to feed everybody, or just, when it's gone, it's gone? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you want to think about, preparing some extra, because you'll have some people that will surprise you. But I would say, and Walter can also agree with this, from a catering standpoint, you always have to prepare double the amount, because people will not eat all day long and just come and devour everything in sight. So if you have a recipe, you're used to making one chicken to feed 4 people.
Double.
You're going to have to double or even triple it just to make sure you have enough.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Walter.
Or if it's my family, they're going to bring Tupperware, so you're going to have some extra. You know what? You know how we do down south. They're going to come in there with some, not aluminum foil, some tinfoil. What you got to go home? Okay, all right, here we go.
Actually, I have to share this. My sister would show up with Tupperware containers ready.
Was our contribution.
Absolutely, ready to go. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Linda joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Linda. You're on the air.
Hi. I am really busy, but I love to cook, and I combined a couple of different things. Nobody in my family likes dark meat. Okay. So I just start with a turkey breast, and I put cranberries and apple slices or quarters and orange slices in the bottom of a crock pot. Lay the turkey breast on top, pour a half a cup of orange juice on top, put the lid on, and forget about it. And it comes out juicy and sweet and wonderful. And it is brown on top.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, does it get brown? What do you think about that?
Yes, ma'am, it does. And by the time it gets done cooking, you don't have to carve it. It falls apart.
It falls apart on you.
I think that sounds great, especially if you know your audience. If they don't like dark meat, then what are you cooking it for?
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing that, Linda. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Faye joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Faye. You're on the air.
Hi. I want to make an apple pie several days ahead of Thanksgiving, and I don't want it to get soggy. And I'm wondering how I should handle that.
Okay. Chef Walter, you want to take that?
Yeah. I'll just do what Mrs. Smith do. Go ahead and get everything together like you normally would. Go ahead and place everything into your pie. And then, or you can keep everything separate, and then build it, so you can make your crust. You can keep your crust in the refrigerator for a couple of days, make your filling, have that in the refrigerator, and then go ahead and put it together the last day, assemble it all, and then bake it off. Or, I've done this several times. I've actually built pies, put them together, put them in the freezer. When I need them, pull them out and bake them off.
So you'd bake it after the fact, but not bake it ahead and then thaw it out and try to reheat it?
Oh, no. Yeah, bake it when I need it.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We appreciate the phone call. Robin joins us from Newport News. Hi, Robin. You're on the air.
Hi. I'd like to make a traditional dish because if I don't, with a light, version of it, because the people who aren't supposed to eat regular stuff will just dig in, and then I feel guilty. But it's a green salad that is tossed with a hot bacon dressing and Brussels sprouts that are steamed. And I want to make it without meat for the vegetarians and without sugar for the diabetics.
Any suggestions to help her fix that? Go ahead.
And it's the same. You want to do the same salad for both the vegetarians and the diabetics, or you want to change it?
Split it up.
Okay, you can split it up, but I would say for the diabetics, you may want, instead of steaming the Brussels sprouts, why don't you roast them in the oven? Because then the caramelization will sweeten the Brussels sprout. And then you could also add a little bit of sliced apple to it. And that will give them some additional sweetener that is not that's a natural sugar. Mm-hmm. And then use the exact same recipe for the vegetarian. So I would say add sliced apple and then roasted Brussels sprout versus steamed.
Okay, but how do I make the dressing? The dressing's the thing, the fried
hot bacon
and you toss it at the last minute and you serve it on the table.
You may just have to go with a totally different dressing altogether, maybe a balsamic vinaigrette. Or actually, I had a dressing a couple of days ago a friend of mine made that took a little bit of cranberry sauce and added it into the vinaigrette and poured it over the top, and it was excellent.
Okay.
So, you're not going to be able to completely fabricate it because of the fact that it is bacon, and there is no good replacement for bacon.
But hot salad is still delicious.
Yes, it is great. So you may want to try like a balsamic vinaigrette and then warm that and pour it over it instead of the bacon. Instead of the bacon dressing.
And that'll be nice. Can I hear some gravy talk too? Whatever, any pointers.
Fantastic, so, Robin. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, Chef Walter, let's talk gravy.
Well, there's definitely no substitute, no shortcuts for gravy. Gravy is gravy. I mean, that's what we want. That's the icing on the Thanksgiving meal. Okay. People put gravy on everything, from rolls to turkey to dressing to, it all starts with, for me, it all starts with the drippings of the beef or the turkey or whatever I'm using, whatever I'm cooking. And, and from there, I always make me a little roux, which is nothing but fat and flour equal parts. And then I just
equal parts. What type of fat?
Well,
or just from the drippings. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, either from the drippings or if I'm starting from scratch or whatever the case may be. Of course, I'll use butter and flour, but. But, depending upon what you're making, if I was doing a lamb dish, I would have lamb fat that I've rendered down, and I use that fat for my roux. But it really just depends on you, because that's going to be when you're cooking anything, it's all about building on flavors. It's all about stacking your flavors and making sure that it's well rounded and very balanced. So I try to stay within that line of what I'm cooking. So if it's turkey, I'm going to go with the turkey drippings, or beef, I'm going to go with the beef drippings. And then from there, I want to freshen it up with either some herbs or different things of that nature. And I like the combination of rosemary and sage, and maybe with a little hint of thyme. It's just totally up to you, whatever your flavor palette is feeling at that moment.
You're making fancy gravy with herbs in it.
Well, you know what? I tell you, it's just, my grandmother, she would always have some sage when she would do that sage dressing. And so that sage always found its way somewhere near that dressing, that gravy as well. So it's
that sounds good.
It's amazing. And just a little sidebar, we talk about the things that our grandparents and parents used to do. it goes back to when I used to see my grandmother cut up those greens, and coming from culinary school, and I used to say, "Grandma, I didn't know you knew how to chiffonade." And she said, "Chiffonade? I don't know nothing about no chiffonade, baby, but we got to get these greens cut up, because it's nothing but cut into ribbon strips." And those are, but, it's amazing the things that we do or they used to do. And that's just the way they did it because it was more convenient and it made sense. But those are the things that we learn, and we pay, $40,000 a year to get a formal education just to learn how to do something that we've been doing our whole life.
Taking it back to the roots.
That's right.
Taking it back to the roots.
Chef Dedra, you want to add anything to the gravy?
I would say one of the most important things is to make sure when you're making gravy, use a good stock or broth. A lot of times people will try to make gravy with water. Water tastes like water. and you can't use, a meat-flavored fat and then put water on top of it because it's not going to have a taste. Yeah.
Okay, got you. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call. Let us know what questions you have to make your soul food Thanksgiving dinner perfect. Susan joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Susan. You're on the air.
Hi, I have a problem. I'm trying to find a frozen turkey. My husband insists upon making them at least 20-pounders that is not injected with, like, a solution. And I was wondering, I'm sure the chefs probably use fresh in their restaurants, but is there any brand out there that does not inject the turkeys with some kind of solution?
Is there a place you can go to try to find that, Chef Dedra?
I would say try Central Meats off of Kempsville Road. And then if you're in Suffolk, go to Full Quiver Farms. It's a family-run business and farm there. Or call down to Finley's in Virginia Beach. They should all have, and Flanagan's should all have fresh turkeys. Now, the solution that's injected into these turkeys when you buy them frozen is chicken broth. And
is that all it is?
That's all it is. And the reason why they added to that, and they're adding to chickens too, and it'll be listed on the label, is because they're raising these animals so quickly that they don't get a chance to develop their flavor. So they inject the chicken, so we have chicken-flavored chicken or turkey-flavored turkey.
Right.
So it's just the salt solution that they're putting in. It's not
so it's
anything that'll
should be
turn his hair
about.
orange or anything. No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, sometimes they just seem too salty.
And that's true. That's very true.
Yeah. Could you just give me the names of those places
Susan,
again?
I tell you what, we will place those on our website, which is anotherviewradio.org, and you can find them there. Okay? Thanks for calling. We appreciate that. Paul joins us from Hampton. Hi, Paul. You're on the air.
How are you doing today?
Doing good.
I've got a question for you. I can never seem to pick out a good sweet potato. They're always stringy or just kind of really just not tasty or whatever. What should I be looking for in a good sweet potato, raw sweet potato?
Okay, Chef Walter.
There are sweet potatoes and then there's yams. They are, some people think they're one and the same. They do come from the same family. But first of all, no matter what you get or where you get it from, make sure you get it from a reputable source, making sure that it's a quality product. And this will probably sound probably gross to some people, but my grandfather used to take his little pocket knife and used to cut a little piece off and taste it and see how sweet it is, to see if that sweet potato is really sweet or that yam is really sweet. Now, you may not decide to do that, but as you're going through and as you're picking, you want to make sure that it's fully developed. Some of the ones that are on the smaller side won't be fully developed, but then depending upon, I've seen some nice small sweet potatoes out there as well. It's really kind of hard. You're really going to have to take your chances on it. And as far as the stringiness, when they start to get really large, when they really start to get really huge, you tend to find that more fibrous string in your sweet potato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chef Dedra, so what's the difference between a yam and a sweet potato? I'm learning something new today.
Yams, sweet potatoes, and I prefer small sweet potatoes because the flavor is a lot better to me. Sweet potatoes are pointy on the ends.
Okay.
Yes.
And the yams are
round,
the round
and
ones.
then round on the ends. So that's your difference. But your yams you can get them anywhere from purple to white. Yep. But sweet potatoes are native to our area. When in the holidays, I get sweet potatoes from the farmer's house. I don't get them from Walmart or anywhere like that. Nothing against the stores, but I go to the farmer because I know he's going to, and I get them, and they are covered in dirt.
That's right.
But long and pointy is what you want, pointed ends on them. But the bigger the sweet potato, the more strings it will have.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you. Thanks, Paul, for that call. How do you plan what to cook when, so that the whole meal comes out hot when it's time to serve? I mean, in other words, are there certain things you should do 2 or 3 days ahead of time? Building up to the turkey, leaving that last. Just some suggestions. I'll start with you, Chef Dedra.
Well, what I like to do is the proteins I'll leave for that last day, either the night before or that early morning. Things like cranberry sauce. We make our own cranberry sauce, so I'll do that a couple days ahead. That way it'll give it a chance to sit. And anything that you can get chopped up, say if you need celery and onions for your dressing or for your stuffing, you can get that all done ahead of time. And just start building. If you have mashed potatoes, you can go ahead and get those cooked, but then ready to heat your milk and do those things at the very last minute. If you make bread, put it in the freezer and then take it out that morning, put it on the pan so it can start to rise, and that way everything, in my house, bread is the last thing to come out because that's what they're waiting for.
And they want it hot. Any other tricks you have, Chef Ellerbe?
Chef pretty much covered. I try to do that a lot of times. Potato salad. Those are those type of things that for me, I feel like it tastes better the next day. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to do those a day, the sweet potato salad a day in advance. Like you said, the cranberry sauce, make that from scratch as well. So definitely want that to kind of sit together and kind of marry. Anything, like you said, that you can do to get yourself set, prepped, and organized for what's to come. Definitely to do that. Mm-hmm. I also do my stuffing a day in ahead. I just don't bake it off until that day.
But you put all the ingredients together.
Put all the ingredients together, absolutely, and have it ready to rock and roll. And so all I have to do is pretty much bake off and bring everything out nice and hot and heat and ready to go.
Okay. Now, I asked both of you to give our listeners a recipe, and you can find these recipes on our website, which is anotherviewradio.org. But Chef Dedra, you have I can't even pronounce it, a special kind of dressing. So would you tell us a little bit about that recipe, please?
The recipe I gave you was a quinoa bread stuffing. Okay. And a lot of people will end up going off of their diet plans for Thanksgiving and sometimes can gain 8 to 10 pounds over the course of that weekend. But the quinoa stuffing, quinoa is a grain. It's an ancient grain. It had been used for a very long time. But then after a while, we stopped using it. It was used mostly for birdseed. But quinoa now has made its way back into the mainstream and is very high in protein. It is a complete protein, so it can be something that you can give for vegetarians and vegans to get their protein source. But basically, it's just as easy to cook because you can take it, pour hot water over and let it sit, and it will soak up the water, or you can boil it and then add it to your breadcrumbs or your bread cubes and then make your stuffing the rest of the way. I would advise, and when I do with my family is when I change the recipe, I don't tell anybody. Because they don't need to know. They don't need to know.
And they'll go, "Ooh, this is so good."
There you go.
And they're eating more healthy at the same time.
So it'll decrease the carbs and increase the protein. Keep that between me and you, Walter.
Hey, you got it, Chef.
Okay, and Chef Walter, you gave us a yam recipe, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Was it? Okay. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. One of the things Chef Dedra said earlier in the program is that, when you roast off certain things, it brings out the natural sugars in it, and it caramelizes and it becomes sweeter. And so mine was a more healthier candy yam or mashed yam, and I do that. I actually take my yams and I roast them off in the oven till they get really nice and caramelized and brown, and then and I just mix in a little bit of little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, my favorite holiday seasonings, and a little bit of apple juice, just to give it the flavor and the texture and the consistency that I want. And if I decided I want to, throw some marshmallows on top and kind of brown it off in the oven, I do that. Or if I just want to take it and fold it into the nice hot, mashed yams, I do that as well. But that's always a little healthy way of doing things, and most people really won't know because once they see those marshmallows on top, and they're like, hey, it's mashed yams, but it's really good. It's healthy for you, and it does the job. But as we said earlier in the show, some things you just don't want to mess with.
Okay, I have one last question because we're coming down to the end. But the question is, are fresh herbs better than those in the can or jar? Chef Dedra.
Yes, indeed, they are. Fresh herbs are much better as far as the flavor. But what we have to understand is that with your dried herbs, if you substitute fresh, you're going to have to double the amount of fresh. If the recipe calls for dried, you can't do equal parts of dried for fresh because dried herbs are more concentrated, where fresh herbs are not. So if you have rosemary that you're going to substitute in a recipe that calls for dried rosemary, you have to double the amount in order to get that full flavor out of it.
Oh, okay. Chef Walter, what's your favorite meal? When you sit down at the end of the day at the table to eat, what's the favorite thing that you look forward to every Thanksgiving to eat?
Oh, my goodness. Probably the skin from the turkey. I'm gonna just tell you the skin. I put me a little combination together. I take a little bit of skin, maybe have a little meat with it. Some mashed potatoes, a little bit of gravy, kind of make me a nice little roll up. And
go for it.
That's it. I'm ready to drop off for a deep coma-like sleep.
And Chef Dedra, what's your favorite?
My favorite, hands down, is cornbread and gravy.
Cornbread and gravy.
Yes,
dipping the cornbread in the gravy.
Nope.
No?
Gravy right over the top of it.
Really?
Yes. I grew up eating that. My grandmother made it for us as children, and I'll cook all day long and make everything, and I don't have to eat anything, but I have to have cornbread with gravy on top.
So the bottom line is for our listening audience, have fun with it. It's not the end of the world if it falls apart. Yes, so they say. have a fast food restaurant on speed dial just in case, right?
Of some really good friends.
Oh, gosh. Well, I wish you both a very, very happy Thanksgiving. That's Chef Walter Ellerbe. He is with Savor Restaurant in Virginia Beach. Thanks so much for joining us, Chef. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. And Chef Dedra Blount with Now You're Cooking. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate that. And we'll be right back. And we're back. A group of workers and volunteers at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Norfolk work tirelessly each week to make sure anyone who gets who's hungry gets a delicious meal free of charge. St. Mary's Soup Kitchen has been an important piece of Norfolk history for years. And as our Lisa Godley found out, the Soup Kitchen is busier than ever and serving up a lot more these days than hot meals.
Good morning, St. Mary's Soup Kitchen.
For Karen Page Womack, preparing mouth-watering meals to feed Norfolk's hungry is more than just a job. It's her passion.
So they are our guests when they come, and they should receive the best that we have to offer.
That's why Karen, the Soup Kitchen staff, and several volunteers go out of their way 4 days a week to make sure the food is tasty and the reception visitors receive is warm.
It's not just for the homeless. And it's not just about passing out free food. It's about sitting together, joining hands, and seeing how blessed we all are, and sharing it.
Yes, I just come here myself.
20 years ago, Kirby Spratley came to St. Mary's homeless and hungry.
I just came here one day and the lady just asked me to work for it. I just been here ever since.
Today, Kirby is frying chicken for 175 people. He says this is a light day. Sometimes he finds himself cooking for 250 or more. The staff says they usually start to see an increase after the 15th of each month, when the food supply in some homes starts to dwindle.
That's the great thing about this place, is that you don't have to be homeless to come and eat. Just come hungry.
While Kirby fries, Karen checks on a pot of collard greens and then begins crumbling fresh mozzarella into 2 large pans of macaroni and cheese.
So I try to put as many natural, fresh ingredients as possible when I make macaroni and cheese at home and in the soup kitchen.
While the food continues to cook, Karen introduces me to the volunteers who help make St. Mary's Soup Kitchen a huge success. While some set up tables, others scrub them down and lay out place settings. The majority volunteering on this particular day are seniors, but that's not always the case.
The student from Morey was suspended for 5 days, and he came and worked in the soup kitchen the total time. And he was so impressed with what was going on that he's coming back to volunteer and serve in the soup kitchen on days when school is closed.
Karen says sometimes when people come, they don't want to leave. So about a year ago, they invited social services to come in and talk to some of the guests about parenting, relationships, and substance abuse.
They are a resource for them to find jobs, job preparation. And we do that once a week on Wednesdays or Thursdays through Catholic Charities.
While Karen and her crew ensure immediate needs are met with a hot meal on one side of the dining hall, Helen Kidwell and the volunteers at St. Mary's Food Pantry hand out bags of groceries to meet future needs.
We used to serve about 500 a month, and now we're almost up to 1,000 a month. I swear the other day, just about every person that came in was a new person who had never been here before. And it's the same story. They lost a job, and they need food, and I think God we're able to do just a teeny weeny bit. If it's just give them one little bag of food, at least it helps a little bit, you know.
Both the food pantry and the soup kitchen are busier than ever and glad to be able to help so many at a time when so many need help. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And it just gives us an opportunity to make sure that we reach out during this holiday season and to help those who are less fortunate than we are. So many people being unemployed and so forth. So if you have time to volunteer at a soup kitchen or to contribute to the food bank or do something to invite someone in to make their holiday a little bit better, that would just be great. There are a couple of events to bring to your attention that are happening this weekend. Tomorrow is the 2011 Diabetes Care Day, a call to action at the New Hope Community Center in Norfolk from 10 until 2. Come share, act, learn, and give, and hear guest speakers Dr. Sheila Garris, pharmacist Candace Sampson, and Dr. Joseph Alloy from the Strelitz Diabetes Center. Call 424-6662 for more information. And there's a Thanksgiving feast food drive going on tomorrow from 11 to 3 at Harry O's Restaurant in Virginia Beach. All proceeds go to the Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia. Lots of fun for the entire family and bring lots of non-perishable items to help those less fortunate. And I hope to see you at the Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals Media Day tomorrow at Nauticus. Come learn how to access the media. The event is free and goes from 10 until noon. We're taking a day off next Friday in celebration of Thanksgiving. So for Lisa Godley, Perry Smith, our intern Elena Outing on the phones, and all the Another View staff, I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for Another View.